MZTV.
Good morning. It is 6:15 a.m. Wednesday morning, so I'm doing a same day show here. I was too much pain yesterday to really make a show, but I owe my audience an apology because the last couple of shows I've been really hiding from you with my hat and my sunglasses because basically I've been ashamed and humiliated about my appearance and the way that I now talk. I might not talk like this forever. The doctor in Lima who actually did the surgery said that I will get feeling back in my ear, the side of my face, and the jaw area. The doctor that I saw in Florida 2 days ago, he was not so confident, but he didn't do the surgery. So I'm going to go with the Florida doctor, the Lima, Peru doctor, who was praised, again, by the Florida doctor for the bold, brave, excellent job he did in a case that was much more serious than any of us knew. Apparently, I got to Lima, Peru just in time to prevent much further damage, and for that I thank my wife, I thank God, I thank my common sense to listen to my wife and to God. And it was just my instinct, to be honest with you. My instinct told me that this was the right thing to do, and it turned out to be exactly the right thing to do. But I want to share with you briefly an emotional meltdown I had 2 nights ago. I can't say I was editing the show because the last 2 shows I have just made them and published them. I did not have the nerve to look at them. I didn't want to see them. But as I was getting, I think it must have been Tuesday's show up, I was watching the show I made previous, and I made the mistake of going back and watching some of my past videos, and I was comparing myself. Don't do this. And I felt like I had been so compromised. This is what I do. I talk. And my mouth is now contorted. And I communicate somewhat like a stroke victim. And I was just feeling extremely sorry for myself. Extremely self-conscious, which is not good, and extremely sorry for myself, which is really not good. I know all my teaching about God being strong in our weakness, but I guess the reality of this weakness hitting me was just 2 nights ago too much. And I started to cry in regret and anguish and agony, and it's all relative. I know many people have gone through way worse than I have, but it's relative. And this was devastating to me. So what I did was I went to my wife. I was here in my room. I went into the bedroom and she was there, and she saw that I was obviously distraught, and I stood in front of her. I said, I'm not the same person. I looked at my video. I see how I talk now. Yes, I might get this back. I will probably get it back according to the doctor in Lima. But that Florida doctor today, I told her, this must have been Monday then, the Florida doctor, you heard what he said. It might never come back. What if it doesn't? And she gracefully listened to me up to a point. And then she said beautiful words. First, tough ones, and then soft words. And this is what she said. She said, don't torture me like this, please. I saw you when you came back from surgery. I saw you flailing on the gurney as you came back into the room. I saw you writhing and groaning and practically screaming, and I wasn't sure if you were gonna live. And then 2 days later, I saw you in bed in that pool of blood, and I thought I was losing you. She said, I am so grateful that you are alive, and you need to focus on the fact that you are alive. And you need to be thankful for that we went to the doctor in time and that the surgery went well. And then she said this, do you think that the people who watch you on your show, do you think they watch you because your mouth is straight? Because you look perfect? Because you do everything right? Because you present some sort of Hollywood picture? She said, no, they love you and they watch you because of who you are, because of what you do, because of your strength in making shows, even in your weakness. This is my wife, Maria, really dishing up my teaching back to me. And then she said, I married you because you inspire people. And I see how many people love you. And I see the sincerity and the honesty and the truth, and they don't love you because your mouth is straight or your words are perfect. They love you because what is inside of you and that you inspire them, and this is why I married you. And at this point, I practically lunged at her. I just wrapped my arms around her and I wept onto her lap. And she gently touched my ear, which I still can't feel. And she said, I know that this is terrible for you and that your ear feels like some foreign thing on your head, but you can still hear. Yes, you can still hear, Martin. That is the blessing. You can still see, you can still hear, you can walk, you can communicate, you can talk. And the doctor in Lima said that this will eventually come back. I know the doctor in Florida today painted a darker picture, but he's wrong. You are going to get everything back, baby. She didn't call me Martin. She calls me wonderful things like honey and baby. And it was a real moment of reality for me. It was a real dose of God come to me through Maria. And I today wanted to share that with you, and I wanted to apologize to you for really balking against my own teaching that in my weakness, God's strength comes forward and God's strength is manifest. And my mind, thank God, and my spiritual sensitivities are certainly intact. She's the one who told me, put that green screen back up. Put your jacket on. Make a show like you always do. Speak slowly and distinctly and tell them what you know about God. These are your friends. They will not forsake you. What wisdom came from my wife, who is to me a gift from God. And I thought of this verse from Paul, 2 verses really. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 7, Paul says, wherefore also, lest I should be lifted up by the transcendence of the revelations. And we have all been lifted up. Paul is here speaking of being transported to the third heaven, an experience that none of us have experienced. And yet, we have been lifted up by revelations, the revelations of the grace of God, the revelations of justification and conciliation, being at peace with God, being placed in God's good favor, being placed as members of the body of Christ. We have been lifted up by this transcendent knowledge of what we are to God through Christ. Paul says, lest I should be lifted up, there was given to me a splinter in the flesh, a messenger of Satan, that he may be buffeting me, lest I may be lifted up. And we all have some kind of splinter in the flesh. We all have some sort of disability, something we're potentially ashamed of, embarrassed of, wish would change, want to change, and yet here we are in all our humanity. For this I entreated the Lord 3 times that it should withdraw from me. And he has protested me, sufficient for you is my grace, for my power in infirmity is being perfected. God's power is being perfected through me and through you, through our strength, through our good looks, through our perfect diction, or our pristine presentation. No, in infirmity. Paul then says, and I'm not here yet, but may God help me. Paul says, with the greatest relish then will I rather be glorying in my infirmities, that the power of Christ should be tabernacling over me. I don't even like relish on my hot dogs, so it's going to be a while before I can relish this. But thanks to God and thanks to the words of Maria, I am getting there with the greatest relish. Then I will rather than mourn my difficulties, rather than regret my situation, I will rather be glorying in my infirmities, that the power of Christ should be tabernacling over me. Wherefore I delight, not quite at that word either. Wherefore I delight in infirmities, in outrages. To me, this is an outrage for me personally. In necessities, whatever is happening to you and to me, it is a necessity. God has written this into the script. It must happen this way. It has to happen this way. In distresses, certainly, I am still in great pain, and I am distressed, and I am impatient, and it may take weeks or even months for me to return to maybe even the partial person that I was. But no, I'm the same person, speaking only now of the flesh, of the disabilities of the flesh. So Paul says he delights in infirmities and outrages and necessities, in persecutions, in distresses for Christ's sake. For whenever I may be weak, then I am powerful. I don't feel very powerful right now. So I have to take God at His word. I'm definitely weak. And I'm definitely in the midst of distress and in an outrage, and certainly partaking in what God considers for me a necessity. Why this is a necessity, I don't know, but God knows. And I trust Him. And I'm thankful for the beautiful words of my wife, Maria, who brought me back to my spiritual senses, in fact. Paul says, whenever I may be weak, then I am powerful. This is a matter of trust. This is a matter of walking by faith, not perception. And by the grace of God and by your encouragement, your continued friendship, your continued love, your wonderful words of compassion and courage, and just the way you continually lift me up and assure me, I don't see how I can lose with the love of God, the love of you, and the love of my wife. And I wish these blessings upon one and all, not only in the body of Christ, but everyone in God's created universe, because I am in a state of the greatest empathy for the sufferings of this world than I've ever been in. So grace and peace and love, and thank you for everything.